After waiting 5 years for the cowboy who left her, she made him prove his love when he returned. The twin suns of Sierra Nova were low on the horizon, spilling orange light across the dusty domes of the small spaceport town. The red dunes stretched endlessly beyond the edges of the settlement, broken only by the trails of hovercraft and the skeletal remains of old freighters. Jessa Hawk stood at the edge of the cargo loading area, her hands on her hips, her eyes scanning the sky. She had been waiting for this day, though she didn't know she would. 5 years ago, Cole Mercer had disappeared from her life without a word. One day he was there, tipping his hat, laughing under the open sky, and the next he was gone, leaving nothing but a note that said he had to find his own path. Jessa had read it 100 times, trying to make sense of it. But now, for the first time since then, she saw the shimmer of a ship descending through the atmosphere, and her heart skipped a beat. The ship was sleek, with polished metal that reflected the fading light. It hovered above the ground, before settling on its landing struts with a gentle hum. People nearby stopped their conversations and stared. Whispers floated through the air like sparks. Could it really be him? Jessa didn't move. Her fingers twitched, itching to reach for the controls of her own hovercraft, to take off before she had to face him. But she couldn't. She was rooted to the spot, caught between curiosity and caution. Cole Mercer stepped out of the cockpit, and Jessa's breath caught in her throat. Time had changed him. His dark hair was longer, streaked with gray, and his once boyish smile was now tempered with a quiet strength. He wore a long brown duster over a simple shirt and trousers, boots scuffed from travel. His eyes, though, were the same, sharp, piercing, and full of that easy confidence that had drawn her to him in the first place. He paused at the bottom of the ramp, scanning the small crowd. Then, finally, his gaze landed on Jessa. He straightened, squared his shoulders, and walked toward her. The dust swirled around him, making him seem like a figure from another world or another time. "Jessa," he said, his voice low but steady. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she studied him, noting the lines on his face, the way he carried himself. He looked different. Older, yes, but also changed in ways she couldn't name. Part of her wanted to run, and part of her wanted to throw herself at him and demand all the answers she had waited 5 years for. "I didn't expect to see you here," she finally said, her voice calm but tight. Cole's lips curved into a small, almost shy smile. "I suppose I have some explaining to do." Jessa crossed her arms, leaning against a crate. "You could start with why you left 5 years ago. No word, no goodbye. Just gone." He looked down, then back at her, his expression serious. "I had to. I needed to find a part of myself I didn't understand back then. I wasn't ready to be what you needed me to be." "And now?" Jessa asked, raising an eyebrow. "Now I'm ready," he said simply. "Ready to make things right." She laughed, a short, bitter sound. "Make things right?" she repeated. "Do you know how long I've waited, Cole? How many times I asked myself if you even cared at all?" Cole's face fell, but he didn't turn away. "Every day," he said quietly. "I thought about you every day. I left because I was scared. Scared of failing you. Scared of losing you by staying when I wasn't the man I should have been." Jessa's eyes softened just a little, but she quickly stiffened again. "Words aren't enough this time," she said. "You can't just waltz back in and expect everything to be the same. You have to prove it. You have to show me." Cole nodded slowly, understanding her completely. "And I'll do whatever it takes, Jessa. You'll see." A few onlookers shifted uneasily, sensing the tension between them, but neither Jessa nor Cole seemed to notice. The moment was theirs alone, wrapped in the dusty winds of Sierra Nova. "Fine," Jessa said after a pause. "Then let's start. First, you have to show me that you understand what it means to work together, to trust me, to respect what I've built here." Cole lifted an eyebrow. "Sounds like a plan. Where do we begin?" "Right now," she said, gesturing toward her cargo station, "I have a delivery to make tonight, and you're going to come with me. No shortcuts, no excuses. You're going to prove that you can handle the frontier life as I do. If you can survive one day with me, maybe we'll talk about bigger things." Cole smiled, a glint of excitement in his eyes. "I've missed this. I've missed you." Jessa rolled her eyes but couldn't hide a small smile. "We'll see if you've missed the work as much as you missed me." As they prepared the cargo hovercraft, Jessa noticed how natural Cole moved around the equipment, how his hands, though calloused, were precise and careful. He wasn't just some space wanderer. He had learned, grown, and adapted. It was a good start, but she wasn't about to give him a free pass. The town streets grew quieter as the twin suns dipped lower, and the wind carried the scent of nettle and sand. Jessa climbed into the cockpit, followed by Cole. The hovercraft lifted gently, the engines humming with a steady rhythm. For a while they flew in silence, only the soft whir of the engines and the occasional clink of supplies breaking the quiet. Jessa watched him from the corner of her eye, noting how he adjusted the controls without asking, respecting her space, yet subtly showing his skill. It was enough to make her curious, but she reminded herself, curiosity was not trust. Their first stop was an old mining outpost on the edge of the desert. The route was familiar to Jessa, filled with tricky terrain and sudden gusts of wind. She wanted to see if Cole could keep up, and he did. He followed her instructions, handled the hovercraft with care, and even offered suggestions that improved their efficiency. By the time they reached the outpost, the suns had set and the twin moons rose, casting silver light over the dunes. The outpost was quiet, abandoned except for a few automated loaders still humming gently. Cole helped Jessa unload the cargo, and for the first time in years, she allowed herself to see the man he had become. Reliable, patient, and capable. Yet even as they worked, she kept a mental note of everything. Every small misstep, every hesitation, it would all be part of the test. If he truly loved her, he would not just talk about it. He would show it, every day, in every choice, in every action. As they climbed back into the hovercraft for the return journey, the wind whispered across the dunes. Cole glanced at her, his eyes reflecting the moonlight. "I know I have a lot to prove," he said softly. "You do," Jessa replied. "But maybe we'll find out if you're worth the wait." The engines hummed as they lifted into the night sky, stars stretching endlessly above them. Somewhere beyond the dunes and distant planets, their story was beginning again, slowly, carefully, like the first sparks of a fire waiting to catch. Jessa didn't know what the future held. But for the first time in 5 years, she felt something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in a long time. Hope. And Cole Mercer, the cowboy who had once left her, was about to spend the next days proving that love wasn't just in words. It was in every choice, every action, every moment shared under the twin suns of Sierra Nova. The twin moons of Sierra Nova hung low in the sky, casting long silver shadows across the red dunes. Jessa Hawk guided her cargo hovercraft over a rough stretch of terrain, the engines humming steadily as she checked the load. Beside her, Cole Mercer sat quietly, hands resting lightly on the controls. For the first time in years, they worked together without words, the silence a sign of mutual understanding. "I hope you're ready," Jessa said finally, breaking the quiet. "Tonight's delivery isn't simple. We're heading to the old mining station at Dust Ridge, and it hasn't been maintained in years. The automated loaders are unreliable, the terrain is tricky, and the outpost has a few surprises." Cole nodded. "I've been waiting for this," he said. "Show me what I need to prove." Jessa gave him a sideways glance, a small smile tugging at her lips. "Good. Because I'm not going easy on you just because you showed up 5 years late." The journey to Dust Ridge was long, and the dunes seemed endless. Jessa kept her hands steady on the controls, her eyes scanning for hidden rock formations and sudden sand pits that could tip the hovercraft. Cole watched carefully, learning her patterns, noting the way she calculated every move. He didn't interrupt, didn't try to take control. He just adapted. When they reached the base of the ridge, the abandoned mining station came into view. Rusted towers and broken walkways stood against the night sky, automated loaders flickering weakly, struggling to complete their tasks. Dust and sand swirled in the dim moonlight, giving the place an eerie, quiet feeling. "Stay sharp," Jessa warned. "This station doesn't like surprises." Cole nodded, his eyes scanning the machinery. "I'm ready." Their first task was to secure a batch of energy crystals, the precious cargo Jessa had to deliver to the next settlement. The crystals were kept in automated containers scattered throughout the station, each one protected by mechanical locks that had begun to fail. Jessa guided Cole through the process, explaining the timing needed to avoid triggering the overloaded circuits. "Watch this," she said, pointing at a container that glowed faintly. "The lock will reset in 10 seconds. You have to pull the lever exactly at the right moment or it will jam. Timing is everything." Cole nodded and waited, counting silently. When the timer hit 0, he pulled the lever and the container opened smoothly. Jessa's eyes widened in surprise and approval. "Not bad," she said. "You've got the rhythm down." They worked through the night, moving from container to container. The deeper they went into the station, the more unstable the machinery became. Hover platforms shook under their weight, conveyor belts groaned, and lights flickered sporadically. At one point, a cargo crate slipped from a loader, sliding toward a pile of machinery. Without thinking, Cole grabbed a control panel and rerouted the loader's energy, slowing the crate just enough for Jessa to push it into a safe spot. "Nice thinking," Jessa said, impressed. "You're not just following me, you're anticipating. That's a big deal." Cole smiled, a hint of relief on his face. "I told you I've learned a thing or two in 5 years." As they continued, Jessa noticed how calm he had become, how patient. He didn't rush, didn't complain. He adapted, and more importantly, he trusted her decisions without question. It was exactly the kind of teamwork she had been waiting for, the kind of proof she had demanded. Midway through the station, they stumbled upon a malfunctioning AI console. Its lights flickered erratically, and its voice boomed unexpectedly. Unauthorized access detected. Energy anomaly imminent. Jessa froze. Great. Just what I needed. Cole leaned closer to the console. "Let me try something." He examined the panel, tracing wires and pressing a few buttons. The AI beeped in protest but slowly stabilized. "What are you doing?" Jessa asked. "Recalibrating the energy flow," he said simply. "If we can stabilize the circuits, we can finish the delivery without damage." Jessa watched in amazement. "That's impressive. I didn't think anyone could fix this without the main controls." Cole shrugged. "I've picked up a few tricks. I like puzzles." The AI console finally hummed steadily, the warning lights dimming. Jessa grinned. "Looks like you just saved our night." Cole gave a small smile in return. "That's what we're proving, right?" Jessa rolled her eyes, but her heart felt lighter. For the first time since he returned, she began to believe he could actually keep his promise. After securing the last container, they started the journey back to Sierra Nova. The ride was slower this time, careful, as the hovercraft had been loaded unevenly and the dunes were more treacherous on the return. They shared quiet conversation, talking about trivial things at first, how the twin moons looked from different angles, the way the wind smelled when it passed over the dunes. But slowly, the conversation became deeper. "I missed this," Cole admitted. "Not just you, the work. The rhythm of the frontier. The challenge. The trust you have to give and earn." Jessa glanced at him, curious. "And you think coming back now is the right time? After all these years?" "I don't know if it's perfect timing," he said. "But I do know I've waited long enough. I want to be part of your world if you'll let me." Jessa stayed quiet for a moment, processing his words. He wasn't just saying it, he was showing it, through his actions, through his patience, through his willingness to face her tests without complaint. As they neared the outskirts of Sierra Nova, the horizon was alive with the first light of dawn. Dust swirled around them, catching the sunlight and turning the dunes a bright, glowing red. Jessa felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this wasn't just a return, perhaps it was a beginning. When they landed, the town was waking up. Traders and townsfolk emerged from their domes, stretching and chatting as they prepared for the day. A few curious eyes followed the cargo hovercraft, but Jessa and Cole ignored them. "You did well," Jessa said once the last crate was secured. "Better than I expected. Maybe you're starting to earn your place back." Cole looked at her, eyes shining. "I'll keep proving it, one day at a time. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it." Jessa's smile was small but genuine. "We'll see. This was only the first test. There are more to come, and trust me, they'll be harder." Cole didn't flinch. "I'm ready." For a while they stood in silence, watching the sun climb higher, painting the town in golden light. There was a quiet understanding between them now, built on shared effort and trust, earned through action rather than words. The past was still there, a shadow in their memories, but it felt less heavy. Jessa finally turned to him. "Tomorrow we start another trial, and this one will test more than just your skills. It will test your patience, your decision-making, and your willingness to put others before yourself." Cole nodded. "I want to show you that I'm not the man who left. I'm the man who stays." Jessa studied him for a long moment. "We'll see. Actions, Cole. That's all that matters now." Words are cheap. The morning grew brighter, the desert alive with color. They walked back toward the cargo station together, side by side, two figures silhouetted against the red dunes. It was a beginning. Not perfect, but real. The kind of beginning that could turn into something lasting, if they both committed to it. And somewhere deep inside, Jessa allowed herself a small, quiet hope. Perhaps the cowboy who left her could truly return, not just in body but in heart. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, and with them, the chance for Cole to prove that 5 years of absence had not erased his love or his willingness to fight for it. For now, though, the first trial was over, and for the first time in a long time, Jessa felt a flicker of trust. The twin moons faded as the sun rose fully over Sierra Nova, and the desert seemed to promise new beginnings. The sky above Sierra Nova was streaked with pale green and purple lights as the twin moons settled into the night. Jessa Hawk and Cole Mercer climbed into her hovercraft, their cargo secured and the engines humming steadily. The next trial would be the hardest yet, delivering a rare energy crystal from the Cosmic Arena, a long-abandoned orbital station, back to Sierra Nova. The Cosmic Arena was known across the frontier for its tests of skill, teamwork, and ingenuity. Built decades ago as a training ground for pilots and explorers, the arena had been abandoned for years. Automated systems sometimes malfunctioned, and the station's layout had changed over time. Anyone entering had to think quickly, act precisely, and trust their partner completely. Jessa's jaw tightened as she adjusted the controls. "This isn't just about delivering cargo," she said. "The arena is full of challenges. If we make one wrong move, the crystals could be lost. And it's not just about speed. This is about teamwork, problem-solving, and trust." Cole nodded, his eyes bright with determination. Then let's do it together. I'm ready for whatever comes." The journey to orbit was long, but quiet, allowing them to focus. They passed red dunes and empty settlements, their hovercraft slicing through the thin atmosphere. Stars glimmered like scattered diamonds overhead, and the silence of space felt both peaceful and intimidating. When they finally reached the Cosmic Arena, the station loomed large, metallic and mysterious, orbiting silently above the planet. Its surface was dotted with broken antennas and glowing lights that flickered on and off. The docking bay was old but functional, and Jessa guided the hovercraft in carefully. Inside, the station was a maze of corridors, elevators, and observation decks. The energy crystals they needed were stored at the center, protected by intricate puzzles and automated locks. "Stay close," Jessa said. "We need to work together. Every puzzle has a pattern, but only if we watch and think." The first challenge was a series of sliding panels in a narrow corridor. The panels moved in a pattern that could trap anyone who rushed. Jessa studied the mechanism carefully. "We have to time it perfectly," she said. "One wrong move and we'll be stuck until the system resets." Cole nodded and watched her movements. "Lead the way," he said. Jessa moved first, sliding through the panels with precise timing. Cole followed closely, mirroring her actions and helping steady a loose panel that threatened to block the path. They reached the end of the corridor together, both breathing lightly but smiling at their small victory. "Good teamwork," Jessa said. "You're learning fast." "Only because you're a great teacher," Cole replied. They moved deeper into the station, where the next challenge awaited, a set of elevators that could only be operated by completing a logic puzzle. The elevator system had a series of buttons, each connected to a different section of the station. Press the wrong sequence, and the doors wouldn't open, or worse, the elevator would go to the wrong level, costing them precious time. Jessa studied the panel. "Okay, we have to press the buttons in a certain order. I'll figure out the pattern, but I'll need your help to hold the doors if it resets." Cole nodded, focusing on the task. Jessa worked through the logic, moving her hands quickly across the panel. The system beeped and clicked, testing their sequence. Cole held the doors, watching for any sudden movement that could trap them. When the panel finally accepted the sequence, the elevator doors opened smoothly. "See?" Jessa said, grinning. "We're a good team, even in tricky situations." Cole smiled back, a quiet pride in his eyes. "And we're not done yet." The third challenge was the trickiest, a zero-gravity chamber where the energy crystals were stored. They had to float through a maze of magnetic fields, avoiding spinning barriers, and use grappling hooks to secure the crystals. One mistake could send a crystal flying across the chamber, making it impossible to recover. Jessa floated ahead, adjusting her magnetic boots carefully. "Follow my lead," she called. Cole moved after her, his body steady, keeping a safe distance but ready to assist. The spinning barriers were fast, and timing was critical. Jessa reached the first crystal and used her grappling hook to secure it. Cole followed, watching for sudden movements in the barriers. When a crystal slipped slightly from Jessa's hook, Cole quickly grabbed it, stabilizing it with skill. "You're good at this," Jessa said, impressed. "I didn't think anyone could keep up with me here." Cole laughed lightly. "I told you I've been learning. The last crystal was the hardest. It was located near a series of spinning energy beams that could push them in any direction." Jessa studied the timing and calculated a path. "We have to move together. One wrong step, and the crystal goes flying. Cole nodded, floating beside her. On your mark. They moved in perfect sync, stepping carefully across the beams, timing their movements with patience and precision. When they reached the crystal, Cole held it steady while Jessa secured it with the grappling hook. They both exhaled, floating in zero gravity, holding the last crystal. We did it, Jessa said, smiling. All together. Yes, Cole replied, his eyes meeting hers. Together. They made their way back to the elevator in the docking bay, carrying the crystals carefully. The station had more challenges ahead, traps that required clever thinking rather than brute force, but by now they trusted each other completely. Every action, every choice, every movement was coordinated. They didn't need words to communicate. Their teamwork spoke for itself. When they finally emerged from the station, the sun was rising over the horizon of Sierra Nova. Dust swirled in the light, making the landscape shimmer. Jessa felt a wave of relief and pride. Cole had proven himself in ways that words could never capture. He had shown patience, intelligence, and respect, not just for the mission, but for her. As they landed the hovercraft and unloaded the crystals, townsfolk gathered to watch. Whispers spread through the crowd. Did you see them? One trader said. They worked like a single unit. Incredible. Jessa didn't answer. She focused on securing the cargo, but she allowed herself a small smile. For the first time, she truly believed Cole had changed. Cole watched her closely. You know, he said softly, I think we make a pretty good team. Jessa glanced at him, pretending to be annoyed. Don't get ahead of yourself, she said. This was just one mission. There's still more to prove. Cole laughed, a warm, easy sound that reminded her of long nights under the twin suns. Then I'll keep proving it, every day if I have to. They finished unloading and secured the crystal safely in the station's storage. The morning light painted the desert in shades of gold and red. Jessa finally turned to Cole, her eyes reflecting the dawn. You've done well, she said. Better than I expected. But there's one last test, one that's not about skills or timing. It's about your heart. Tomorrow you'll have to prove that you're here to stay, not just to complete missions or impress me. Cole met her gaze. I'm ready, whatever it takes. Jessa studied him, a mixture of caution and hope in her expression. She knew words weren't enough anymore. His actions, patience, and teamwork over the past few days had shown her a side of him that 5 years ago she couldn't have imagined. But now, the final proof would be something more personal, something that mattered more than any challenge or mission. As the twin moons faded completely and the suns climbed higher in the sky, the desert of Sierra Nova seemed to glow with promise. Tomorrow would bring a challenge of the heart, one that would test Cole in a new way. But tonight, as Jessa and Cole walked side by side toward the cargo station, their silhouettes long against the rising sun, a sense of quiet triumph settled over them. They had faced the cosmic arena together, survived its challenges with intelligence and trust, and discovered something even more important. They could rely on each other. For Jessa, that was the most important lesson of all. And for Cole, it was the moment he realized that proving love wasn't about words, apologies, or promises. It was about showing up every day and facing the challenges together, side by side, with patience, care, and trust. The morning sun rose over Sierra Nova, painting the red dunes in golden light. The town was stirring, traders and hovercraft pilots preparing for another day on the frontier. But for Jessa Hawk, this morning felt different. Her heart was restless, full of hope and doubt at the same time. Today would be the final test. The last moment that would tell her whether Cole Mercer, the cowboy who had left her 5 years ago, had truly returned for her. Cole stood beside her at the edge of the cargo station, adjusting the straps on his belt. He looked calm, confident, but his eyes betrayed a hint of nervousness. He knew this wasn't a test of skill or courage, it was a test of heart. You ready? Jessa asked, her voice quiet, almost soft. Cole nodded. As ready as I'll ever be. Tell me what I have to do. Jessa took a deep breath, letting her gaze wander over the dunes. This isn't about Crystal's cargo or any of the challenges we faced. This is about proving that you're here to stay, that your words mean something, that you care about my life, my work, my world, not just yourself. Cole met her gaze steadily. I do. I care about all of it. I'm not leaving this time. I promise you that. Jessa smiled faintly but didn't answer. Words weren't enough anymore. She wanted action. She wanted to see it, not just hear it. Their task was simple in words but difficult in execution. A rare solar storm was predicted to hit Sierra Nova that afternoon. The cargo station, with its delicate machinery and hovercraft, needed to be secured. If the storm arrived while systems were unprepared, damage could occur, setting Jessa back weeks. Jessa had a plan, but it required both of them to work together, and every action had to be precise. "We have to secure the station," she said, "and protect the hovercraft. If one part fails, it could all go wrong." Cole studied the station, taking in the ropes, energy shields, and control panels. "Show me what to do," he said. Jessa led the way, and for hours they worked, securing the station with skill, care, and teamwork. She was impressed, not just by his competence, but by the way he followed her lead without hesitation, asking questions when needed, but always ready to act. At one point, a panel on the main control console began to spark slightly. Without thinking, Cole moved forward, adjusted the connections, and stabilized it. "Careful," Jessa said, watching. Cole nodded. "I know. We need everything to survive the storm." Hours passed, and the storm approached, the sky turning shades of green and gold. Wind swept across the dunes, rattling the station's metal walls. The town seemed to hold its breath. Finally, all preparations were complete. Jessa stepped back, surveying the station. Everything was secure. The hovercraft were tied down, energy shields activated, and the cargo safe. She looked at Cole, her heart pounding. "You did it," she said softly. "You stayed. You worked with me. You showed that you care." Cole smiled, relief and pride shining on his face. "I'm here, Jessa. I'm staying. I've never left you from my heart, even when I was away. I've waited 5 years to show you this, and I'll spend every day proving it if I have to." Jessa's eyes glistened. For so long she had built walls around her heart, protecting herself from disappointment and heartbreak. But now, seeing him here, working beside her, trusting her, and letting her trust him, those walls began to crumble. She stepped closer, the wind tugging at her hair. "Cole, I needed more than words. I needed to see it, and I do. I see it now." Cole reached out, gently taking her hand. "Then let's face the future together. Whatever comes, we face it side by side." Jessa's smile grew, warm and real. "Side by side," she repeated. She let herself finally relax, letting go of 5 years of doubt, fear, and waiting. The solar storm arrived in full force, but the station held steady. The energy shields hummed, and the structures Jessa had worked so hard to secure resisted the winds. Inside, she and Cole watched the swirling colors outside, the storm lighting the dunes like a cosmic painting. "You see that?" Jessa said, her voice filled with awe. "No matter what happens out there, we prepared. We worked together." Cole nodded, squeezing her hand gently. "Exactly. That's how we'll face everything from now on. Together." As the storm passed, the first sunlight broke through the clouds, casting a rainbow of colors across the dunes. Jessa turned to Cole, her heart full. "I believe you, Cole. I really do. And not just because of what you've done today, because of every choice, every action, every day since you returned. You've proven it." Cole's eyes softened, and he smiled, a quiet, steady expression of love and commitment. "Then I guess this is our new beginning," he said. Jessa laughed softly. "It is. A new beginning on Sierra Nova." For a moment they stood together, letting the wind blow around them, the scent of red sand and the warmth of the sun filling the air. It was a peaceful, perfect moment. They didn't need grand gestures or words. The proof of love was here, in their shared actions, trust, and determination. The townsfolk began to emerge from their homes, curious about the storm and the calmness of the cargo station. Whispers spread quickly. "Did you see Jessa and Cole? They worked together perfectly." Jessa didn't respond. Her focus was on Cole. She felt a quiet certainty. He had returned not for adventure, not for glory, not for convenience, but for her, and he had shown it in every way that mattered. Cole looked at her, his eyes warm. "You know," he said softly, "we've faced storms, puzzles, and challenges together. But I think this was the hardest, because it wasn't about skill, it was about heart." Jessa smiled, brushing the strand of hair from her face. "Yes, and you passed." Cole laughed, a low, happy sound. "So, does this mean I can finally stop proving myself?" Jessa shook her head, pretending to be stern. "Don't get lazy now. You have a lifetime to keep proving it." "I'm okay with that," he said, pulling her close. "Every day, if that's what it takes." The sun climbed higher, and the twin moons faded completely. The desert shimmered with heat and light, a promise of endless possibilities. Jessa and Cole stood together, hand in hand, ready to face the future. For Jessa, the wait of 5 long years was over. She no longer carried doubt or fear. Cole had returned, and he had proven his love, not in grand words or promises, but in quiet, steady actions that spoke louder than anything else. And for Cole, every step, every challenge, every moment spent working beside Jessa had been worth it. He had proven that love wasn't about leaving or returning. It was about showing up, staying, and sharing life as partners, equals, and friends. They walked back toward the cargo station, side by side, the wind swirling around them and carrying the scent of adventure and new beginnings. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new work, and new moments. But for now, they had each other, and that was enough. As they reached the station, Jessa looked out over the dunes one last time. The frontier was vast, unpredictable, and sometimes harsh, but together, they could face it all. Cole squeezed her hand gently. Ready for the next adventure? Jessa smiled, her heart full. Always with you. The desert stretched endlessly before them, red dunes glowing in the morning light, and for the first time in years, Jessa felt completely at peace. Cole had returned. Love had been proven. And their story was just beginning. The twin suns rose higher. The wind carried promise across the dunes, and the frontier held endless possibilities. Side by side, Jessa and Cole stepped forward, ready for whatever came next, together.